Howdy, we're going to try and continue the build on this side table. It's been, for me, several days because I've been working through technical issues, somewhat due to my inexperience and my just lack of preparation. I always, clear my throat. I always thought that it was sort of silly, all these woodworker guys building these crosscut sleds. I need one. If you don't have one and you want to do anything significant, you need one. But I didn't build one, I should have. And so the next step in my process is to put the miters on the pieces that'll build the top, but also the box. The box that holds the drawer will also be the top. So I need to put. I'm gonna put that together with mitered joints. So my next step is to finish cutting those miters. I cut one to test out my new infeed sled, or whatever you call it, infeed support, temporary infeed support, which I made over the last couple of days. Now, obviously I didn't spend 2 days on it, but it took me a while to figure it out, and there was little nuances with the guide rails on my saw and things that I had to overcome. So it was little stuff, but you know, just for whatever reason, everything takes so much time. So here is the infeed support that I made. I put 2 grooves in it. They don't match the width of the grooves in the saw because I wanted to be able to have it way to the right or way to the left, depending on which side of the blade I want to cut on. The other thing I did, based upon what I saw others do, because I'm a copycat, is I put a bunch of magnets in here. That didn't really hold well enough, so I put this perpendicular support on, and I put a couple of these rectangular magnets in that one. They seem to be a little bit stronger, and of course I'm just sourcing these magnets at the local big box because I don't want to wait for Amazon or anything. I just want the magnets. I put them in. This thing stays up. It doesn't need to support weight because the board is going to be resting on it. The miter gauge is going to be resting on it, engaged into the slot on the table saw, and I'll kind of have my hip or something probably near it too, just in case. But it does stay up. It does support this big long 23-inch board that I have to cross-cut a miter on. So we're gonna get the blade set, and we're gonna cut some of these miters now, going on advice of others and even some of my own experience. I want to cut the first miter on each piece because they all need to be the same width. So the second miter will be cut with the fence not moving, because I'm gonna cut them off the fence, the second miter, even though it's wider than it is long, and that's somewhat scary, people say, and I guess it can be. But at any rate, I'm talking too much. I'm going to get this the blade set up and get this new infeed support in place, and we'll make a couple cuts. The other thing that we'll be doing an outtake on is just taking a quick look for those interested in the Harvey Destroyer saw blades. This is a demo of the Harvey Crosscut Destroyer blade. We did the rip blade earlier when we were ripping down our parts. So we're going to get set up. I'm going to set the saw blade to 44.8, and that way, based upon, again, advice of others, if there's a gap in that miter, hopefully it'll be on the inside of the box, and that point will be nice and tight. So that's what I'm going to do, and we'll come back and we'll see a cut in just a couple of minutes. So my drawer box / tabletop is going to be 8 inches high and 15 inches wide. So we'll have a 15-inch, roughly 15-inch wide drawer, a little less due to material thickness, 14 inches, 13 and a half. So I've got the side that I want facing out down on the table. I'm going to cut off my first 8-inch piece. I've got a split on the end of the board here, so I'm cutting a good bit more than 8 inches because I intend to come back when I set the fence and do the final cut on all 4 pieces. I will cut that off, and that'll be scrapped. So I'm going to cut off an 8-inch piece off of this side, and I'll mark it, flip it around, cut an 8-inch piece off of the other side, and then I will cut the first miter on the middle 15 inches that I'm taking out of the middle here, and then we'll set up the fence and we'll do all our final miters on all the pieces. So that's the process here. I'll let you watch me doing this first miter. You can see how well my in-feed support works, and then I'll probably just cut all the rest of the stuff and we'll come back and show a final cut and show some of the results of the Harvey Destroyer crosscut blade. I've already made a cut or two with it. It cuts phenomenally, as many premium brand new blades cut. So anyway, here we go.
This section of the video is sped up at 4 times the normal speed. We're making these cross cuts with Harvey's Destroyer BC72 72-tooth crosscut blade, currently selling for $115 on sale. You'll notice later that there is a little burning.
Okay, that went good. This thing worked great. As you can see, if you can see, my outfeed table, I hit my outfeed table at the end of the cut, and I've got a little bit of a burr there on the end, but it's so small I think I can easily correct that with hand tools. I'm not going to try and run it through again, but there's our cut. Nice and shiny, smooth. Let's check it for square. I don't know how you really check a bevel for square, but I guess you do. Best that I can tell by eye, I think that looks good. Both sides of the bevel. Looks good. Alright, so I'm going to go and prep the rest of the pieces. We'll come back and do the final cuts together. Alright, so we're getting ready to make our last 2 cuts on the sides of the table drawer box top assembly. Like I mentioned before, it's important when you're making the final cut on especially matching pieces. Set your fence, leave your fence. It's less important that the piece is exactly the size you intended as that those 2 pieces are exactly the same size. That's the tip and the hint that we get from everyone.
Okay, again we're at 4 times normal speed. We're making the miter cuts on the opposite side of these boards, setting the board width, and at the same time setting the height of the drawer box.
Okay, let's see where we're at. So these are 8 3/4. I really just wanted 8. I don't know that that matters a whole lot. Again, the box will be a little bit taller. Didn't quite get all that crack out. Might make sense to cut that down a little bit more to get the rest of that crack out of there. At any rate, I also wanted to ask you if anybody caught on to that mistake that I made earlier. I had said that I had my large panel and I was going to cut the 1 8-inch piece off of one end and cut the other 8-inch piece off of the other end. That was a mistake because I ruined the ability for me to keep this grain matching up across the top and down the other side. So, big mistake, it's already done. Luckily this piece is for me, and the side that won't match is going to be up against my easy chair anyway. So I won't see it, nobody will know, and I guarantee you that won't happen ever again. I think I'm going to trim this down a little bit more because I still got the tiny bit of the edge of a crack that was in this board. And then we'll set up to do the loose tenons on these, and we're ready for a glue up. Back to you in a bit. The next step is to put a bevel detail on the front edge of the drawer box face, the face of the drawer box. This is technically a cut in the rip direction, but I did a test cut with the cross-cut blade in there. I'm kind of done changing blades back and forth. The cut came out great. This cut I'm only taking off a little bite, so I'm not going to swap the blade, and I'm going to put this little detail on the front of all 4 pieces of this.
This clip is at 8 times normal speed. Still using Harvey's 72-tooth crosscut blade, we are making bevel details on the front of the cabinet, and boy, this blade really works well. It's super smooth cuts, and the bevel details add a really nice touch.
You might have seen that I flipped the bottom one around, but I had taped it up. The 3rd or 4th time I taped them up, I did it backwards. So luckily I had it marked and I cut it the way I wanted to. Now let's see. The nice thing about that little detail is not only does it add some interest, but it also kind of hides a little imperfection here or there if you had one. So I don't know if the camera angle is good for this. Let's see if we can bring you in here a little bit and drop you down so that you can see how that's going to look. I think that's going to look kind of nice and bold. Yes. I do. Alright, so one more detail I need to do before I go on to making the mortises is I need to cut the back of the bottom off because I'm going to have a secret door in the back that will drop down, and it needs to drop down past the bottom, obviously, so you can reach inside. The drawers are only going to be about 15 inches long, but this is about 22 and a half, so there'll be 7 inches or so space in the back where you can put a little secret item if you'd like. Anyway, I'll get to that and we'll come back.